So you have pizza and ice cream and all that stuff?
Yeah,
okay.
Whatever. I will say testosterone helps for all the young men out there.
And so he's saying, get ready for this. I'm oversharing, but I don't care. Enough is enough. Coach Greg, and in today's video, Alan Ritchson comes clean. He finally admits to taking HRT. The only problem is he was always taking HRT. This guy has lied, and he's been lying for years. And so he had to put on 30 pounds of muscle for his role as a reacher. And so what do you think he did? Well, let's read his Instagram post. To the people that keep asking, no, I don't do steroids and never have. If you know what those do, it's obvious. And so he's saying, I've never done steroids, haven't touched them. And remember, testosterone, HRT, is in fact a steroid. And so at this point, he's saying he's 100% natural. But does anyone actually believe that? And so I've already done a Natty or not. And of course I said, there's no way this guy is natural. Until more recently, they asked him about how he's able to put on all this muscle. And he now says it's HRT.
Like, I work out 30, 45 minutes a day. I get it in, get a little pump. I might have a slice of pizza for lunch because I feel like it, you know, and I had a sundae last night, a giant sundae.
And so since that time, he says the secret is this. You only train for 30, 45 minutes a day. You have pizza, ice cream, you pretty much eat what you want. And that's how you make all the gains. Because after all, if you go to the gym for 10 years consistently, you can do anything you want. And if you don't have abs, well, you did something wrong. Really? You really want us to believe that? So you're going to come out here on your high horse, famous movie star, good looking, and just say, yeah, it's easy. I don't have to do anything. Show up to the gym for 30 or 45 minutes a day, and I can do anything I want. Oh, really? How did you put on those 30 pounds of muscle? How did you do it?
Why are you so big?
Genetics.
If you've been training consistently your entire life, how is it that suddenly, out of nowhere, you magically find the formula? Well, you were overtraining, you were training an hour a day, and then now you cut it in half, you suddenly blew up? I don't think so. Now look at his physique. Does that look like the physique of somebody who's natural? Remember, he's not in his 20s, he's now in his mid-30s. Do you really think when you're approaching your genetic limit, after all, at 35, how much more muscle are you going to put on? That you're suddenly going to put on 30 pounds of muscle?
You didn't have a sundae the night before this photograph.
Bro, I had pizza. I had probably 2 pizzas.
I mean, really, are we just going to overlook the fact that he's saying whatever he wants and we just believe him? Did we believe him when he said he put on 30 pounds of muscle while being natural?
You know?
Seriously, just a 30, 45-minute workout?
Yeah, but dude, I've been doing this for decades.
20 years of consistent training, 30 to 45 minutes a day, and everyone should have abs and massive muscles. Remember, this guy is 240 pounds with a six-pack.
If you have a weight problem or you don't have some kind of abs after 20 years of 5 days a week, come talk to me. You need to see a geneticist.
Really, you need to see a geneticist if you haven't got a six-pack after training 30, 45 minutes for 20 years? I don't think so. And after all, a six-pack comes from being very lean. Calories in, calories out. You could train for 50 years straight for 3 hours a day, and if you're eating in a surplus, you're never going to see your abs.
So you have pizza and ice cream and all that stuff?
Yeah,
okay.
Whatever. I will say testosterone helps for all the young men out there.
And there it is. And testosterone helps. Notice he said all of this. He said he put on 30 pounds of muscle with nothing. Then suddenly he says, and testosterone helps.
Before, I talked about this once before, and I've been, you know, like, this is oversharing. I don't care.
And so he's saying, get ready for this. I'm oversharing, but I don't care. Enough is enough. Perhaps he was told you're not allowed to admit that you're taking testosterone, HRT, trend, whatever. And now he's saying, I don't care. I'm going to say what I'm taking.
I was 205, 6'3", 205. I needed to be at least 235. That was like my mandate from the studio. You cannot show up to set without being
for reacher.
I had 8 months to do it.
And so imagine, he's 205 pounds. He looked like a superhero. Have you not seen him in Smallville? He was Aquaman. Or perhaps when his younger days, when he was hugging Paul Abdul. He's been in several films, always looked amazing. Yet, to show up for the reacher, you have to put on 30 pounds. Don't bother showing up unless you weigh at least 235. What would you do? Remember, this is for millions of dollars. This is your livelihood. This is how you're going to make it big.
I built a gym in my house, and I worked my ass off. You cannot believe how hard I worked. Every day, like it was my life depended on it.
And so now he's saying he built a house in his gym. He worked out 1 or 2 hours a day, and then he put on 30 pounds. So which is it? An hour to 2 a day, or is it 30 to 45 minutes? I mean, after all, he said if you work out for 30, 45 minutes for 20 years, you're gonna have the physique of your dreams. But now he's saying if you train 1 or 2 hours a day really hard for several months, you put on 30 pounds.
2 hours a day. So in that amount of time, I could like put the muscle on.
Yes.
And I did it without any help. No steroids, no testosterone, nothing.
And so he still claims, I did it with nothing. No testosterone, no GH, nothing whatsoever.
So I get done with the season. I'm super fatigued. I'm like, things aren't working in my body. I can't breathe. And I go to the doctor and let's do a blood panel. He's like, oh, you have no testosterone.
He then has the audacity to say this, and he thinks that no one's going to notice. I went to the gym and trained so hard for 1 or 2 hours a day. You know, it crushed my testosterone. My testosterone levels were in the garbage. They're in the toilet. I felt horrible. If your testosterone levels are in the toilet, how do you put on 30 pounds of muscle? How can you have the testosterone levels of a man who's 85 years old while still building all that muscle?
I was like, okay, I guess I beat it out of myself.
And so what he's claiming is he trained so hard, he beat out the testosterone. By working hard consistently, going to the gym 1 or 2 hours a day. How many of you out there do that? That is very common. People who train harder than last time, they dedicate their lives to the gym. They're training 1 or 2 hours a day. It's not going to cause your testosterone levels to be that of a girl. It doesn't work like that. And if it did, you wouldn't put on all that muscle. You would be overtrained. You would be burnt out. Your muscle size would shrink. You wouldn't have the energy to go on. And so what do I think happened? Well, he took something. If you take steroids, SARMs, whatever, your body's own natural production of testosterone, it's going to go down. Your ball sack basically goes on vacation. You're getting testosterone or you're getting something from an exogenous source outside the body, and the body no longer needs to produce that testosterone. And so if you then go to the doctor and get your blood work done, what do you think your testosterone levels will be at? Think they're going to be super high or very low? Picture it. If he did a cycle of SARMs and growth hormone and went to the doctor and said, test my testosterone levels, what do you think they would show? They would show they're crushed. They're in a tank. And then what do? Oh, I'm prescribing you HRT testosterone because your body's clearly not producing enough of it. Well, of course it's not. You're taking SARMs, steroids, whatever. Now, if he were specifically taking testosterone and he got his testosterone levels done, it'd be through the roof. But other steroids, if they're not testosterone, for example, they can crush your body's production of testosterone.
Oh my God, like a new me. It makes my job easier. There's going to be less wear and tear because I don't have to push. I don't have to do what I did to replicate that again.
And so now that he's on HRT, he feels better. It made his job easier. He no longer has to train 1 or 2 hours a day because testosterone helps you build muscle, obviously. So what does he do? He can now slack off in the gym. He can take his time. He can do lighter sets, less weight. He has less volume, less intensity, yet still pulls on that muscle.
Take hemoglobin into your cells. You oxygenate your cells. You just feel better, more alive, more awake, and helps process fat and build lean muscle. It's like a wonder drug.
And so he literally calls it a wonder drug. It helps process fat and so on. Listen, whether you're on testosterone or not, it's still calories in, calories out. If you're on steroids and you still eat like crap, you eat too much food, obviously it's still going to turn to fat. It doesn't just turn fat into muscle. You need to actually eat in a deficit, at least calorie-wise, in order for your body fat to get burnt off.
But it's important that people know, I'm not lying about it. I never took testosterone until well after season 1. So it's possible to do it on your own.
So he's saying, it's important for you to know, I never took testosterone until after season 1. In season 1, I put on 30 pounds of muscle. So he put on 30 pounds of muscle natural, then takes HRT, and should you not then put on 30 more pounds of muscle? I mean, let's think of it. He's been training his entire life. He's been consistent. He's dedicated. He's expressed that. He's not one that just started training in his later years. And so with all that dedication, the years of suffering, training harder than last time consistently for years, he suddenly then builds a gym in his house and trains 1 or 2 hours a day, hires a chef, says, feed me 100 meals a day, probably chicken, broccoli, and rice, puts on 30 pounds of muscle. Then after he puts on 30 pounds of muscle, suddenly, after 35 plus years, his testosterone now is in the tank. Coincidentally, it happens right after he puts on more muscle than I've ever heard of anyone putting on their life in such a short period of time, at least while being natural. And so what do you think is more likely? That he did it 100% natural and doing it natural crushed his testosterone levels? Or that he perhaps took something? And by taking that something, his own body production of testosterone, it slowed down. And after getting it slowed down, he then needed HRT so that he'd feel normal again. Because think of it, if you take SARMs, for example, for 3 months, you're going to feel good while you're taking those SARMs. But if you suddenly stop taking those SARMs, now that your testosterone levels are tanked, you're going to have lack of energy, lack of libido. Perhaps you can't get it up. Perhaps you need harder than last time, for the bedroom. And all of that is because your testosterone levels have been suppressed. You then go to the doctor, they check out your testosterone levels, and they're crushed. And of course, they give you a prescription. And do you think they're giving him the lowest dose that he needs? Do you think his testosterone is 100 milligrams a week? Or do you think it's the maximum? And do you believe it's only HRT? Does he not look like a guy who's taking more than HRT? And so people are now outing themselves saying, yeah, I'm not actually natural. I'm on that HRT, just replacing what my body should have. And so all this muscle that I've accrued over the years, it's still natural because I'm only doing what the doctor said.
For the longest time, I would punish myself with the kind of abuse like even in the gym where I go if I die on this treadmill, I've won.
And so Alan Ritchson literally saying how hard he trained. He pushed himself so hard that he said, if I die on this treadmill, then I've won the game. He trained hard for years. And so when he says, I wasn't really pushing it, I just trained hard when I built that gym and that's how I put on those 30 pounds. It's bullshit. You know it is. The guy's training hard his entire life. Ever since the age of 17, when he first started training, he never missed a day. His first year training, he never took 1 day off. And so does that sound like a guy that's training half-ass, that suddenly can train an hour or 2 a day and build up massive amounts of muscle, 30 pounds in fact, and then suddenly his testosterone crashed? And so who makes more sense?
And where I'm at right now physically, I'm wearing a lot of weight for the roller reacher.
How
I'm
much do you weigh?
240. Actually, I've been working out pretty hard. I'm probably 245 now.
And so Alan Ritchson, despite training hard his entire life, he's now up to about 245 pounds. He says very difficult to do cardio. He can't recover from his sprints. He goes for runs. He says it's overly difficult because he has so much muscle. Has he ever heard of GO2 Max? The main ingredient in GO2 Max NMN has been shown to increase your oxygen capacity. You have more endurance, better recovery. This is exactly what it's for. And so if you're 245 pounds of muscle and you're running around training, trying to get in your cardio, and you take GO2 Max, it's only going to make it that much better. And so why not give GO2 Max a try? Interested? Code Greg, 10% off.
If I stop working out for a little bit and I'm still on that, I've trained my body to eat 4,000 calories a day. It would take me about 3 weeks to blow up.
And so he says to maintain his body weight, he needs to eat 4,000 calories a day. Now remember, if he suddenly stopped working out, stopped doing cardio, rather than eating 4,000 a day, perhaps he'd only need to eat 3,000 calories a day. And so no, just because you have a lot of muscle and start training, it's not going to suddenly make you fat. What makes you fat is eating in a calorie surplus. And so let me know in the comment section whose argument makes more sense. Does it make more sense that he trained too hard and his testosterone levels were crushed and needed HRT? Or do you think he took something to put on 30 pounds of muscle in a matter of months? Subscribe, click the bell button, comment to boost the algorithm. Don't forget to watch one of those 2 bloops. And also the cookbooks at various price points, different cookbooks. This is the newest one. Also, you can get the training books, 3 of those, and the Circle Diet book. Click the link in the description and don't forget code Greg to save you 10% off. And until next time, I am out.